This episode is brought to you by the CNY Women's Network, a media and PR company connecting and celebrating women professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders across Central New York. From networking experiences and wellness pop-ups to our annual CNY Women's Summit, which is the largest event for women leaders in this region, we're building a community where women feel seen, supported, and inspired to grow. We're currently partnering with sponsors for our 2026 event season, including the CNY Women's Summit, our walking club, co-working meetups, fitness pop-ups, editorial campaigns, you name it. If your brand is passionate about empowering women and making meaningful community connections, we'd love to collaborate. You can start the conversation and learn more by heading to cnywomensnetwork.com/opportunities. That's cnywomensnetwork.com/opportunities. Now let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to Cultivate CNY. I'm your host, Alex Canavan, and today we're joined by Marya Wlos, Executive Vice President and CFO at Community Financial Systems, Inc. Marya brings nearly 2 decades of leadership in banking and finance, including roles as COO of M&T Bank's Investment Bank and senior positions at UBS, Citadel, and Bank of America. With a BS and MBA from Canisius University, she's known for strategic clarity, operational excellence, and collaborative leadership. In this episode, we explore Marya's journey in finance, her role in guiding community financial systems growth and development across Central New York, and how she approaches leadership and strategy in a rapidly evolving financial landscape. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Marya Wlos, welcome to Cultivate CNY. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Happy to be here.
Being the first female CFO in the company's history, what does that feel like?
It's a great honor to be picked to have any type of role like the CFO of a bank or a, really significant company like Community Financial Systems, Inc. So regardless of whether you're the first woman, it represents, years of putting in hard work and sacrifice. I think I try not to focus too much on that portion of it, and focus more on, can I help create opportunities for other women and not worry about that I'm the first at something, just help everyone, get to achieve what I've been able to, which is, part of my dreams, and not many people can say that. So, and I think it's really helpful for our society and for our children to keep encouraging people to work hard and see the results.
Yeah. And just to be that example, right? To show other women that it is possible. And before we started recording, you did mention that it's very uncommon to see women in, either CEO or CFO roles, because they're really high pressure roles. But I also know that you are, not just an incredible leader and a total boss, but you are a mother. And, I'm sure there's many other areas of your life that you also like to succeed in. So I'm curious, given that the role that you're in is not a traditional role to see a woman in, how have you been able to juggle all of the things? Like, what do you think?
The age-old adage, it takes a village, is absolutely, I could be the poster child, for it.
So you know how to ask for help.
Know how to ask for help, know how to compartmentalize the help and know exactly where you need it and know where you feel more comfortable doing it yourself. The most important thing for me is to spend time with the kids when I can. So I try to ensure that things that help me spend time with them, that's where I bring in the village. And sometimes that's like help taking them to practices, because if I was doing that, then I wouldn't be able to finish my work. And then when they came home, I'd be doing work while wanting to spend time with them. So it is, you can't do it all. There's just no possible way, but you can be really effective at it all. And you just have to really pay attention, because there are different times in your life where it's more important that you spend more time with the kids, and you'll know, when that is. And there's other times where, they're kind of okay, and I can sort of lean into work a little bit more. And it could be a week to week basis. That's not even year to year,
Mhm.
where, well, this week we have a set schedule and, things are fine. And then the next week's like, all right, well, I have to be a little bit more agile and run around. And they really want me to be at this game or, pick them up or they have a
Yeah.
winter concert or something like
I'm
that.
sure
So,
like every week, every day is totally different, but like you'd mentioned, it's probably, I'm sure they would maybe love to see mom more, right? But I think it's so important to be 100% present with people when you do get to spend time
yes.
with them,
And
right?
it's really
So,
important to just set their expectations. So I had to leave Buffalo this early, 6:30 this morning, so I didn't see the kids. So, last night I'm not going to see you in the morning, but I'll see you. You really, kids are very, um, i- i- they really absorb and react, and they're really resilient. But you have to communicate with
mm,
them. It's my opinion. I mean,
yeah, you
you
absolutely
know,
have to communicate. You
yeah.
can't just like leave them guessing, right?
No, I think that creates just a lot of uncertainty. And I travel a lot. So I'll say, this is exactly where I'm going, and this is why I'm going there,
Hmm.
and this is how long I'll be gone, and I'll see. And that just has, and I didn't do that at first. I think that comes with time too, as you learn, as you become, as your kids get older, like what is, there's been a couple times where I've realized that they've said to me, like, I wasn't sure when you were coming back and you feel terrible. And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
well, now I'll do better. So that's just what is reflected back into work as well. I mean, you're going to make missteps, and you have to be able to identify that and say, that was a misstep, just not gonna do it. You can do it once, you just can't do it twice.
Hmm.
And that has also been something that's helped me, you know, on this journey.
Yeah. And so when you do get the chance to spend time with your children and really just be present with them, what are the things that you love to do with them to connect?
One of the great things is sports of any kind. So I will force myself to go out in the backyard and just, I'm very rusty. So it's and play basketball or soccer with them. I think that, is helpful, to take a walk with them, to even go to a movie. Kids really like that. Take them out. They're old enough now where you can take them out to dinner, and they can pay attention and engage in the conversation. To go see family. And they like it. We live in Buffalo. They like winter sports,
Hmm.
so skiing is great. One of the great things is that you can get on a chairlift. They can't go anywhere, so they kind of have to talk to you. So
Yep.
it's a good time to say, hey buddy, how was, school this week? What happened? And that's where I find that they open up to. So just finding little spots like
Yeah.
that.
Keeping the kids active, making them get outside. I love that. Were you an athlete growing up?
Yes. I played basketball and volleyball in high school, and loved it. Wish I had been able to stick with it a little bit more. I think with my generation, what happened is, I think they're better now. People are better now about staying as they get older in team sports, but I would I would go running or do biking or something, but I wish I had stayed in team sports. It's just so much more fun.
It's fun to be competitive. And
It
find
is.
that
Yeah.
usually people that are very high performing, high achieving types of people like yourself, I usually see a huge correlation between them being athletes in their youth and eventually being
Yeah.
leaders, you
I
know?
think, and I see that with my kids too. They are, on team sports, and it is really fulfilling to see them be part of a team, and, they're more proud sometimes of assists than they are of goals. And I think that is, they play soccer, I should say that. So I think, that's a positive thing as a parent when you see the atmosphere of being, wanting to help others, and be on a team. I mean, if kids don't like sports, then that's, you shouldn't be trying to force them into a corner. But maybe they like music then, so get them into a band or like an orchestra. Just working
Mhm.
with other people, I think, at a young age, with their peers at a young age too. So not just, okay, go work with adults and volunteer, which is important, but more, be in a group of your peers doing what you like, and learn at a young age how to help each other. And it can be sports, it can be music, it can be, if you like reading, form a reading group or whatever it is. But I think it's important to try to get kids,
Yeah.
into that young.
Yeah, just like to be a part of a team and to work towards the same collective goal is such a important skill to
Yep.
have, I think, because you truly learn how to not only support other people, you learn accountability, but you also like learn how to motivate other people and kind of bring people alongside you. Which I was a theater kid and I grew up dancing competitively. So my sport was very individualistic. It was really like my biggest competition was myself. And in fact, like when it came to the people that I danced with, I went to a competitive studio, so the people I was dancing with were all my biggest competitors. But we
Right.
also danced together in group numbers, stuff like that. And so something I always wish I had more experience with was working on a team because I can see why growing up in dance has given me the confidence to bet on myself and to put myself out there enough to be an entrepreneur. But now that I'm leading other people, I can really see like what my downfall is. I'm definitely one of those like still kind of a lone wolf
Mhm.
mentality leader where
Mhm.
I'm like, I trust myself the most, so I may as well do this
Do everything
myself.
yourself. Yes.
And it is a lot more work to rally people together, to lead other people, to train them. Sometimes it is easier to just do it yourself, right? But that's
Well,
in the long term,
you
that's
find yourself, and certainly I've been down that road many times where you find yourself, well, this is faster if I do it, so I'll just do it. But you have to take a step back, especially in the position I'm in now, and say, no, I'm going to. It's more work up front, but the reward is greater on the back end. So it's just being cognizant of that. Like, I know I'm going to put more work up front into this, but I know if I do it right, things in a year. I mean, you have to be able to look out long term, and
yeah,
especially now that
you're
I'm
dealing
new.
with
New,
macro
yes,
like
you have to be able to
things.
say, I want to build this skill set and this discipline, and I know it's going to take a year, 2 years, 3 years, even 5 years sometimes, and I'm in it for that, and that drive. I'm not sure if you're born with it or if I think I know I was taught it over the years. So if it's a combination of nature and nurture, but it is really important to say, this is where I want to be. And it's also important with looking at things long term and looking out to stop and
Mhm.
say, okay, I have made some progress. Like, and even list it out. I've had times where I've been at points in my career where I've thought, oh my gosh, like this is going to take another 2 years, and I don't know if I can do it. Right? You have moments like that, and so I'll take those days. I'll sit there and I'll write out, this is what I've accomplished so far, and then you say, okay, well, if in the last year I've gotten this far, if I do as much as I've done the last year, next year, then I will make that goal in 2 years, and sort of gives you a second wind because sometimes you need that. It's hard what we do, and it's hard to build a business, and it's hard to build teams. I don't think people talk about how difficult it is enough. And I mean that to say that you're dealing with many different personalities, and also you're dealing with people's they have their own lives too. So you want to take the best and develop the best, um but you also want to be understanding of, you know, it's tough out there. So
Yeah. And to be able to balance both sides of like, come on, let's go. We've got things to do. Let's get it done. But also to be able to hold space for so many different people with different personalities. I think that ability to do both is probably why women make such
yeah.
incredible leaders, because we can wrap our heads around a lot, especially when it
Yeah.
comes to, holding space and having grace and understanding for lots of different types of people, right?
The better you are at determining what is fixed and what is variable will help every aspect of your life. So there's some things you just have to be able to accept you can't change. And so the next step is, how do I handle that, And when you are able to say, well, I can change this, and how do you handle that? And some people will go after something that's fixed for way too long.
Mm,
And then
yep.
they've, wasted time. Or conversely, they've looked at something that probably could be changed, and said and maybe misdiagnosed it as something that's fixed, didn't work hard enough to fix it. So that is a skill that, develops over time. And I, think that I've had many different inputs. Basically, at some point, you become an amalgamation of all the people that have helped you. And then you become one. And then you are one in a group of different people that, mentor others as well. So um, you take a little bit from everybody.
Yeah.
But I do think that that is an important thing.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
mentorship is a huge part of how you get to a position, that you're in right now.
Mhm.
Is there anyone you'd like to shout out, or any people that have mentored you along the way that you think have made like the biggest difference in your career?
There's so many. I actually just talked to one the other day. He lives in London, so he won't be listening to this. But his name is John Kogel, and I knew him, and I worked with him at Citadel, and so it's many years ago. But he really helped me learn. At that point, I had just joined this hedge fund to sit on the trading desk, and it was a very. I didn't go to an Ivy League school, so it was and I think he went to MIT. So we were all sort of fish out of water and trying to work together. And I was just a grinder and had really figured out like, okay, this is what I want to do. And I was going to do whatever I could, to get there. I was first in, last out type of thing. He knew that this was like a big deal for someone who hadn't, and he understood it, and he helped me along the way. And we've stayed great friends over the last 20 years. And so I'll give him a shout out. He's the best. And really what that taught me is that people will, if you listen, they will listen. And if you put in the effort, it all really does, come down to relationships. It is a two-way street. And the harder you work at your relationships, the more they will give back to you. And that is the number one thing I would pass on to a younger generation. It's hard work, networking, and I'm not really an advocate for like just go out to a restaurant and try to force yourself into conversations and network that way, but that's almost like one step too far for me. But when you are in your profession and you are meeting people, give them time. Don't walk away. If someone says, "Hey, I'd like to talk to you about this another time," always say yes. Um, Always follow up.
Yeah.
You will be shocked at who will come back into your life. I mean, just even talking about John, he's at the top of my mind because I talked to him last week, and I hadn't talked to him in like 3 years, and we've known each other for 20. And I asked him a question, and he had a great answer. And I worked hard at that relationship 20 years ago, but it, is still paying dividends,
Yep.
decades later. And I think when you're young, time is a really hard concept to wrap your mind around. And
Yeah.
and you're
Especially you're just starting out,
starting out.
and maybe there's some pressure. You're just so early on in your career, maybe your book of business, right? So it's kind of like a numbers game at that point. But like you said, it's not just about going out and shaking as many hands as possible. It really is about nurturing the relationships that you
Yes.
do have. And I think
That's very well said. Yes,
that's
exactly. Yep.
that's the part that people forget about, or maybe look over, is like it's not just about making the connection, it's about the following up. And what does it look like to nurture that relationship? Like, are there certain things that, when you say like invest in your relationships, what does that look like for you, or what have you done specifically, maybe especially earlier on as you're kind of making your way in this industry?
I never said no to anything. So, I'll go back to it. To me, there was no way with my personality, I don't know that anyone's the type of extrovert, well, they'll just go out and they can just walk in somewhere and like meet. I mean, I'm sure there certainly are people. I'm not. I'm
Hmm.
not someone like that. So I was more reactive at first, but I never said no. And then it got to a point as I had a little more confidence that I would ask, like, "Hey, could you help me on this one thing? Or would you mind going out for a drink to discuss this one issue? Because I think, you could start to see where if you were off the clock, technically, you would get some more information, right?
Yeah.
Information is the name of the game. It is how you can make better decisions. That's what you're always looking to do is determine how can I make a better decision? And the only way you can do that was with data. And the only way you can get data. And yes, there's a lot of technology we can talk through, and it is always going to drive our decisions, but it starts with data.
Yeah.
If someone is entering incorrect data, it is garbage in, garbage out. And so and what you'll find is that sometimes as you're navigating, especially the business world, that could be, bad data in your computer, and it could be bad data out of a human who is telling you something because they want you to do something different, right? So you always have to say, what is in your mind? Like, what is this person's sort of, motivation?
Mhm.
What are they? And I'm not that's not to mean that it's nefarious. It's just to say, okay, well, they lead this one team, so they're going to want that team to be successful. So they might be asking for something a little bit more than I think makes sense, but we'll work together to get them what they need and what I need. But and that does take time to be able to discern.
Yeah.
You know,
And that comes with experience, that discernment, right? You
oh
just
yeah,
like
it
you
does,
can't
and you can be
have that
instinctual.
right
I
off.
mean, I think I
Yeah.
had a really good instinct for it. I mean, one of the things that I will always attribute to my success is that I worked at restaurants when I was younger. And
Yeah.
that is a crash course in human behavior,
Mhm.
crash course, and working late at places and, working with your team members and then working with customers in a live, hands on environment. Now, if we have a client, I schedule a call with the client in a week and I prepare for it, or an investor, you know, this is you walk in the door and you're on. You have no prep, and you have to learn how to adapt and be adept at that adaption. And it really did to the extent I'll have any control over what my kids do for their jobs in college and others. I will have them work at a restaurant for sure in one way, shape, or form.
No, I completely agree with that. I attribute a majority of my ability to like communicate, to entertain, and also manage people's personalities is largely because of my experience bartending. Because
Oh,
it's
yep.
just,
Well, that's what I was. Yeah, I was
you
a bartender.
never,
Yeah.
it's fun. It's a riot, but yeah.
It's a riot. It's a riot. I found a
It's fun for like
picture.
2 years when you're young,
Yeah,
but
when you're young and you yeah, you just have to be able to say, okay, I have to move on from it. But I found a picture of one of my best customers, and I yesterday actually was cleaning out my office. I'm like, this was so
this
it was
is
wild.
a
Yeah, I was
lifetime
in grad
ago.
school. It was a 7 day a week thing, because you're in school and then you're
Yep.
working. But it was great learning.
You are an absolute hustler and you've worked for some of the largest financial companies in the world.
Yes, yeah.
Did you always know that you wanted to be a woman in finance, or like what led you down this career path?
I think some people can say that they were very young when they figured out what they wanted to do and they were, really focused on it. And that wasn't my experience. I was in college and still unsure of what I really wanted to do. This kind of goes back to uh, my ties to upstate New York, which is that I had a great friend base that we all went to high school together and stayed friends even after college. And my influence came a lot from my peers than more than it did anything else. So I was watching my friends go into bigger cities and eventually come back to upstate too. It wasn't about leaving. It was just they were achieving things that I necessarily hadn't had exposure to. My parents were professionals. My dad was a lawyer. My mom, worked in hospital administration. So they were very well educated, but they had never left upstate New York. And so it was sort of a, on the job training where you're seeing other people be able to navigate. And so they inspired me to do more. And early on I said, okay, I'm going to go to grad school. But,
Mhm.
I was in that process of figuring out which grad school I wanted to go to and what made sense. Um, I'm good with numbers. And so it eventually became clear that this is where I should focus. But
Yeah.
the drive to do specific things, came from my peers. I think it's a little bit unique. Usually you hear that it comes from your parents or, um, you know, a teacher, but for me, it was actually my own really good friends being successful. I thought, well, I can do that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that because your peers are not only close to you in like proximity and age, you guys come from the same place.
Hmm.
So truly to be able to like measure, your own goals in accordance to use them as a field goal, if you will. It's like if they can, so can I. So you
I
you
give
went
them all
to
the credit. Yep.
yeah. And so community financial system is making over $100 million worth of investments in upstate New York right now.
Yes.
You guys have been opening new branches, new headquarters.
Yes.
Can we talk about the strategy behind this expansion?
It's one that we're very dedicated to, which is to putting investment into our own backyard and making our offices for our employees more enjoyable to go into because it's, COVID was, a rabbit hole we won't go down, but it makes a big difference to feel good about the building you're walking into. And that's how you attract talent. And
Hmm.
the way that you're successful in a business in which there are many other actually not many other companies like ours, I will say, as a diversified financial services company. But the bank side of it, which is our largest vertical, there's a lot of other banks. So you want to differentiate yourself. You want your employees to feel good about where they're walking into every day. We believe it's important to be in an office and to go and collaborate with your teammates. And um, we feel that in person meetings and discussions, while it is the technology that we're able to work, remotely and virtually changed changed the world. There's no replacement for the in person
Hmm.
connection. We see that from our customers that really like walking into a branch and talking to someone, and especially when our value add is that you can get a car through us, you can get a home through us, we can service your business. We sort of run that gamut. To have that in person connection in a new building is, I think, it's invaluable. We believe it will pay you know, unknown investments, in over the next couple decades just because it's important.
Yeah. And I think the pendulum has definitely swung the other way in terms of what people are looking for again. And I think people really are looking for that in person connection, whether it is in their friends or their peer groups or like whatever businesses that they're collaborating with.
I've said it a
Like,
lot in
I
the
think
last even time, the relationships and you can't it's
we've
of
realized
yeah.
the irreplaceable value of that.
Yeah. I was very upset for the younger generation through COVID. I thought, how are they going to meet the John Kogels of their lives?
Yeah.
And so to see that reverse, which if you had talked to me back then, always said it will, because it was just my belief, whether I was right or not. It was unproven at the time, but I think it has become so that it is really important. And growth comes from human connection. Humans, if you go back millions of years and look, we travel in packs. We don't stay in one spot. It is very unnatural for one human to be alone in a room for a long time. It's creates, depression, and everyone's different. And there's going to be a spectrum of this. And certainly if somebody chooses, um, to be a remote worker and they know what they like, that I am all for that. I just think that we want to ensure that everyone gets the exposure to how different things can be when you work in a team environment, and around other people. And if you still choose to, a different direction, that's the beauty about living in the United States of America. You do whatever you would like. But there wasn't even the opportunity, so,
Yeah.
and I think then you sort of, what happens too is you fall into a routine of thinking this is what real life is and this is what I should be doing. And, but there has been an emergence from that. And so out of that came, our decision to really invest. And we're opening a new headquarters in Syracuse, a new headquarters in Buffalo, Albany, Rochester, and also, 19 new branches across New York State.
You guys just
And
opened
yep,
up
go
one
ahead.
right here in Hanover
Yeah,
Square. That's beautiful.
beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, they're stunning. Every time I walk into one, I'm blown away by what the team has done. I try to reinforce that often, that it is a really rare um, accomplishment to have opened this many branches and new buildings in such a short amount of time, and it is been outstanding to witness. Yeah, it's great, and so we're so happy with it, and they've been really successful.
You guys have also partnered with programs like Greenlight to support financial literacy for families and students. So, why is financial education a part of the strategy? And why do you think it's essential? What impact have you guys seen so far with this program?
If you take a look at where you can donate or be, charitable, there's a lot of places that you can just write a check. And certainly you'll get credit. Maybe your name will be put on a board. Um, that's great. And we want our name everywhere. We try to get our name wherever we can. But when it comes to actually making a difference, we believe it does come in the form of education, especially if you can reach individuals that are maybe high school or college age, and help with that process, or even teaching individuals how to manage money. I mean, I think it's um, uh, not really stressed enough, that things are, especially in the world of, you can get credit just by having like a social security number at this point, right? There's a lot of ways you can get yourself into trouble. And so there's the financial literacy part, where we really want individuals to understand how to build equity in a home, and how we can help them do that. There's also, just in general, helping upskill the community, so that they have the opportunities that everyone else does. You don't want to be, looking at your staff and trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. You want to start at the beginning, where it matters, and that's why education is so important to us. That's where it, and then the better educated, the community is, the better employees that we have, and the more profitable our company will be for our shareholders, our employees, and our customers, and that's really the end goal. So,
Yeah, something I wish that they would certainly focus on more is financial literacy in high schools, and
hmm
even in middle schools, because
hmm
now there's like children that are making money from YouTube. Like, you know what I mean? There's teenagers that are making insane amounts of money from social media now. So, okay, that's great, and it's wonderful that
it's not real life.
that
Yeah.
kids know how to make money,
Yep.
but also what do they do with that money?
Yeah. What do they do with it? And
And how is it
um,
impacting our community too? Because
y-
that's the ultimate goal, right? Is obviously more money in circulation is great, but making sure that money is going towards things that really matter and
yes,
actually impact the collective.
that is the goal. That you create a society that is giving as well as receiving, and it's balanced and fair. And
Hmm.
so that's what we try to do. And you do this with the backdrop of knowing that life isn't perfect, and there will never be a way to look at, a circle that goes completely in a cycle that looks exactly how you want it to go. But it's a lot of the value is in the effort to try to get there. And if you look over time, that's what humans are drawn to do. They're drawn to the effort of trying to get to nirvana, which they pretty much know they'll never achieve. However, we're the closest we've ever been. It's, if you look at the last 100 years and the strides that the world has come through, and it's really, quite extraordinary. I mean, and now we're, talking a lot about AI, and something we also are investing heavily in at the company, because what it does is, really essentially create time. And
Hmm.
the more, you know, time you have, the more you're able to think, really. And if you have time to develop your brain, then you can develop better products and better services. And instead of, I always make the comparison of, it takes 7 hours in an airplane to cross the Atlantic, and it used to take 4 months, right? And now that person who crosses the Atlantic just in essence gained 4 months. Like, what can what can I do with those extra 4 months? And so that's why that technology is also is so extraordinary. It's giving us back time in a way that we haven't seen in a long time, almost like either like a dishwasher or a washing machine.
Yeah. No, it's incredible. And it always fascinates me how I love to talk to people about how they are using AI in their everyday lives. How is Community Financial Systems investing and implementing AI right now?
We're doing a number of different initiatives to help. I guess I'll use the word educate the employee base on how it can help. Um, One of my colleagues, I think this is great. He started by telling his team, just plan a vacation with it and see how what it picked up, and how it could have helped you, and what did it suggest, and then translate that to work. So in general, our employees, they have access to what I would like Copilot, or, that type of AI that's a system built within a system. That's something that we stress on a daily basis if we can. Just use it as much as you can in your daily lives, and think about how this can help you at work. So we're asking for them for feedback from that perspective. On our end, we are looking at our systems and saying, okay, how do we connect the systems? So, for example, if you have an invoice coming to the company, how how do we automate that so it flows through and hits let's say, our general ledger in a way that's accurate, with less human involvement,
Hmm.
you know, for one example. We have vendors that will sort of say we are using AI, and so it's up to us to also say, okay, how are you doing that? How are you going to help this? Because what's happening is technology is becoming more expensive,
Yeah.
but we it's like, why is it becoming more expensive? So we're pressing the envelope, I would say, pretty hard there to see what this really means. If you are ignoring it, it's eventually
The ship has already
the ship
sailed.
has sailed. Yeah,
You need to
it's
get on the next closest ship.
exactly. And, we are at our company really lucky. Our CEO, Dimitar Karavanov, he has educated himself almost to the point of, I would consider, like, being an expert in it, and is a lot of things, in a company like ours, comes from the very top, and he stressing it is has made a huge difference to all of his directs, including me. And then, we sort of talk to our teams and say, this is something that we need to get on board with. So
Yeah.
um, it's still largely undefined too. I mean, I think it's okay to say that we know what can happen. We just don't know how to bring it together specifically in every aspect. And also, one thing again to remember is that it all comes from existing data. So if the data that is incorrect, then the output from these new technologies will be incorrect. So it forces you to look at all your core systems to say, and humans start like they're booking a loan, right? And so the question is, can you build maybe a digital employee to book a loan? Possibly. What does that mean? And so, like I said, it's largely undefined, and we're taking it one step at a time, asking all of our employees to come up with like test cases where they think it could help, and pushing our vendors and pushing ourselves. And so
Yeah.
it's really, you know, speaking. I feel like I'm talking about John a lot today, but as he owns a data company, and he said 6 months ago nobody would ask him about it, and 6 months later he says I hear about it, every day. So it's really come into mainstream like within 6 months. So it's been around for a lot longer, but it has
Yeah.
really been something that, yeah. So it's really brand new.
I was shocked to find out about how long AI has actually been around and why are we just now starting to talk about it. But yeah, no, one of my favorite things to talk about is how are you using AI right now, or what are you using for AI right now? Because I feel like there's always some new tool coming out or new AI company launching. It's kind of like the gold mine right now if you want to be an entrepreneur.
This region is exciting. We have a lot of water and we have a lot of power. And in order to, keep these types of technologies running, you need a lot of water and power.
Hmm.
So I believe that as time goes on, there'll be more data centers that are, relocated to this area. Um, and yeah, it's a great thing.
We also have a lot of land too, and those data centers are huge.
Huge.
Crazy.
They're crazy. Yeah. I haven't been to one yet, but
I've only seen photos, but
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's
We
pretty
finance a
intense.
couple. Yeah, it is intense. It is.
So let's pivot a little bit. I want to talk a little bit more about just your pride in this region. You being from here. You call yourself a Buffalo backer. I don't really know what that means, but go Bills, I guess, right?
Yes, go Bills for sure.
What drew you
Especially after
back to
yesterday.
upstate New
Sorry.
York, and what do you love most about being in this region?
What drew me back is family. I mean, I lived out of this area for 15 years. It wasn't a short amount of time. Um, I think, once I had my own children, you see how they respond to, their family and how much joy it brings them. And so there was definitely a part of me that wanted to bring them that joy that I had growing up. I had a really big family. Both my parents have a lot of siblings. I had a lot of cousins, and I had a lot of fun. And I wanted them to grow up and have fun. I had the best childhood. I had the best high school, experience. I mentioned that I'm still friends with my friends I went to high school with. And, again, being the first generation that went away to college, our parents said to us, you guys, you won't be friends. You're going to go away to college and make new friends. And
Hmm.
we said, okay, you sort of take your parents' word for it. And we all, stayed friends. I think there's a connection. There's a grittiness to this region that really translates and becomes something people love. There's, a humor that comes along with it, a very dry sense of humor.
Kind of dark too. Little,
Totally dark. It's
little. I like
really
that.
dark, but it reminds
I
you.
think we're resilient. I
Yeah, you're
think
resilient. Yeah, absolutely
gritty is
resilient.
a good word too, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you don't take yourself too seriously, right? You know, there's a check and balance on you. Oh, you think you're hot stuff because, you're me and have this job? Yeah, okay. Like my family, they're like, what do you do? They don't care. They're
Yeah.
like, we don't, did you make the mashed potatoes? Like, are they good? No, they're not. Throw them out, make them again. Like there's no, ego. There's, and it's genuine. It's down to earth. Um, and that's who I am. And I wanted, the kids to feel that. I'm really lucky to be able to do a job that I love from this region. And that's what we are also really passionate about trying to do, bring more businesses here, bring
Yeah.
more commerce here so that people can live in this area and, still
Still
do through
thrive.
exactly,
Yeah.
still thrive. Look, it's when I was growing up, it, there was not even close to the growth there is now. The housing market, I mean, there are lots in my neighborhood that have been empty since, I was born, that there's houses being built on now. Like people are, that's just wild to me.
The growth is
Yeah.
definitely
Yep.
there. But like that's honestly what really inspired me to start this podcast was that, growing up, as you know, like the thing to do is leave, right?
Yep.
After, especially if you do want to have a big career, if you want to be successful and have access to insane opportunities, you had to leave. And, I did not leave. I stayed. I started a business at 19 and kind of stuck it out here. But through the last 10 years since I've been graduated from high school, like I've seen it slowly get to this place. But the last 2 years, especially, which is when I started the CNY Women's Network and this podcast, the growth has been insane. And I'm like, wow, I feel like I started this at the perfect time
Hmm.
because
You did.
more than ever, people needed connection, they needed community,
Yep.
but they also needed inspiration in this region. And I knew that as a young person that was committed to staying here, but is also committed to having the career of her dreams, I was like, well, first of all, I'm going to just create the job of my dreams here because I don't think it exists. But also, I wanted to start this podcast because I wanted people like myself, young people that were here to see, all of the incredible leaders that are in this region that are doing really amazing things for this region, just to like have that field goal, like we were talking about earlier.
Hmm.
If they can do it, I can do it too. If they can have this inspiring career or have the career of my dreams, then I can have it too. And I can have it here in central New York, where I feel like that just was not the narrative at all growing up.
No,
Um,
I
and
agree.
and I remember, feeling quite embarrassed and even ashamed that I stayed here. Like in my earlier
Oh,
20s,
really?
I
Yeah.
would run into people, you know, right before Thanksgiving downtown when you see all the people you went to high school with. And I was asked, why are you still here? I thought you'd be in New York City or something. Like, why are you? And it was kind of like, it felt like a little bit of a dig.
Hmm.
But like I said, I had a business here. I had a reason to be here. So, and I was fulfilled. And so, yeah, no, that really resonates with me a lot. For the longest time, I feel like go getters left this region for opportunity. But now I feel like so many people are coming back because they see the opportunity that's
Well,
here.
and a different way to do it. You don't have to be, I don't fit in any sort of box that anybody would have maybe tried to put me in. And so you have to be willing to be a little bit flexible and to think through things maybe in a non-traditional way. But I am the envy of a lot of my friends that I can, you know, see my family, travel, have, you know, a good career, and still, be connected here. It surprises me almost on a semi-annual basis. One of my friends will say, we're looking for houses that they don't always pull the trigger, but they will, the fact that it's on their mind, which I never would have thought that.
Yeah. You thought they would never come back.
Nope. I just talked to one last week and was really surprised when she said it. And I, of course, just supported her and didn't say like, oh, I'm surprised to hear that. But I really was surprised. And I do think that at some point being able to pick up the phone and, send a text to be like, hey, I'm free tonight. Anybody around to grab dinner and have some people answer, right? You don't always have that. And
No, it's community.
it's community. And it really, that's what fuels me. Like I love people. I love to be around people. Um, I love to hear what's going on, about people's lives. I love to commiserate or, all of it. I love it all. And it's a great community to be able to meet people and have again, have fun. I mean, there's just like, what else is there?
Yeah.
You have to have
Buffalo is a ton of fun.
It is so
Yeah.
fun.
I haven't been in a while. Actually, right after high school,
Yeah.
I did leave here for a year. I went to UB. I was a dance major there.
Oh,
So
good for you.
I did leave Syracuse for a year, but then I came back, of course. But no, but I feel that. I feel like what you're describing about being here is like, in terms of the people, the types of people here, there's a groundedness here.
Yes.
So the fact that you get to have this incredible job where I'm sure your every day is just filled with so many fun challenges, but also you get to travel whenever, but you do have this home base that is peaceful.
Very peaceful.
And well-rounded, just the region of the country that we're in is we're truly privileged to be here, I think.
Oh yeah. I think it's like the slow game too. It's like we're just catching on, which is great. I mean, we have 4 seasons, you hear people say this all the time. There's no hurricanes, there's no earthquakes, there's no alligators, You get some snow. And you can almost see it reflected. You said go Bills. I mean, the Buffalo Bills are kind of becoming America's team, even over the Cowboys, which is just wild for me to see and witness. And I couldn't be more, proud. I think they're all like my children. I'm like, oh, Josh is my son. It's no big deal.
Oh, yeah.
If he gets hurt, I'm like, oh, it's like my kid. It's so funny. It's great. It's great to have that positive feeling of, like, yeah, you guys think you're so great over there. We're pretty good over here too. And it's almost, there was a sign that was put up in Buffalo, I don't know how many years ago, but keep Buffalo a secret. When I saw that, I was like, that's great. Whoever came up with that, that's very true. And you're not that special here. Whatever,
there's
whatever you think you're doing.
A wonderful sense of pride, which makes it just exciting to be a part of a community like that. What are some of your favorite restaurants or just like hangout spots in Buffalo and Syracuse? Because I know you're here in Syracuse a lot.
I am in Syracuse all the time. I love Syracuse. In Buffalo, I'm going to have to go with Hutch's and Angeline, my 2 favorite restaurants all day long. In Syracuse, I love the York, Possibilities. I'm in here and walking around, all the time.
Abioko. Yes.
Abioko.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wouldn't be able to, I would never have remembered that.
Have you been to Francesca's Cucina?
No, but it's on my list.
You should definitely go. It's great, all year round, but during the summertime, the patio is just a vibe.
Yeah.
It's an experience.
Okay. I have to go. We'll go this summer.
Let's go this summer. Let's do it.
We're going to do that. That would be great.
All right. So we're going to close out this episode with a few rapid fire questions.
Oh boy.
So the first one is, what is one book on business, leadership, or it can be a podcast, just a resource?
Good to Great.
Okay. I like that. One piece of advice you wish you'd received earlier in your career?
To follow up and build relationships. Absolutely. Like without a question, if somebody had sat me down and said, tell me the last 10 people that asked to meet with you, did you meet with all of them? I would have probably met with 3 or 4. It's like, go with all 10. Go out with all 10.
Yeah. It's a numbers game, right?
It is.
Okay. Last but not least, finish this sentence. Central New York is
home.
I love it. Marya, this was an absolute pleasure. I loved getting to know you more. And thank you so much for being definitely a source of inspiration for myself, but so many other young leaders that listen to this podcast. I'm sure this will not be the last time we're talking. We're going to go to Francesca's. So
yes,
thank you so much.
I can't wait. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to Cultivate CNY. If you enjoyed this conversation, I'd love it if you left us a quick review and made sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. And if something in today's discussion resonated with you, please share it, whether it's on social media or directly with a friend. You never know how hearing this conversation might be exactly what someone needs right now. And I love to hear your feedback. I love to hear your thoughts. So please be sure to tag us on social media if you do share there. This podcast is produced by Diam Media Group, a video production company based in Syracuse, New York. If you'd like to work with Diam Media for your next big campaign, or maybe a podcast you'd like to get off the ground, head to diammedia.com to learn more. Until next time, I'm Alex Canavan, and I'll see you next Monday.